Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing today? Right, let me just close down a few windows. Just chatting to a friend of mine, and we were both saying that we're feeling a bit under the weather today. The weather here in the UK is drizzly, grey, rainy. It feels like summer has long gone and we're well into autumn. So yeah, so I've struggled to feel motivated today. So these days happen. So today I'm gonna switch it over to the live scene. I'm gonna try and get a bit more upbeat. We're going well on this. We're on to chapter 6. So let's find the scene. And there we go. Hello everybody. Good afternoon. How are we doing? How is everybody? So, today's chapter, if you remember, if you watched yesterday, we wrote the scene where our group was imprisoned. If you want to read this, go over to my website, www.adrianfaulkner.com, and you can read all the chapters for absolutely free. But yesterday, just to bring us up to speed, our characters were stuck in a prison after having been caught by Laird Quentin's troops. And they'd found an orb with that managed to cause splits in worlds, open tears in reality. And they were in prison for it. And they were told they were likely to hang. We did some setup for this chapter today, in that Gina has eaten the fruit, and so have some of the troops. However, because because our heroes have absorbed the power of the casing of the orb, it means if they touch it, they cause the tears in the world. It also means that if they eat stuff, they gain mutations. So Gina is going to be our first mutation. We are hopefully going to start to write our first mutation today. So we ended the chapter with them being summoned. So this was our notes for yesterday. So we did it Red's point of view. Stuck in the prison. We introduced a character who's both a friend and a threat. Increase the threat from Laird Quentin. Gina and mutation. So we said here we want to be careful we're not doing any body shaming here, because she's a larger girl, and so far she's been a bit moany. So today we're going to change that, and part of this is all set up in that she is the last person you think is going to get some sort of power. And I don't know what power they're going to get. So the big decision that's going to happen today is we have two ways that we can take this story. I've deliberately, as I write this, I'm always giving myself options. Don't want to write myself into a corner. So the first option is that when any of our group eat anything, they gain their own unique ability. Okay, so their own mutation. So their mutation that enhances them somehow. When they so literally, if Gina's ability is she can fly, she grows wings and can fly, right? Okay. She eats a fruit, she eats whatever. A sausage, a fruit, anything. She gets that. She gets that ability. Now we can put some rules around it. It has to be from a world other than her own. Things like that. And if Red eats something, maybe, I don't know, he turns into rock or something. You know, his skin turns to diamond or something like that. Or the other way that we can treat it is that they eat something from another world, and when they do, depending on what the food is, that's what the mutation they get. Now, thinking about this, I think the latter is more interesting, because otherwise, we're gonna have a little discussion on magic here for anybody who writes. The problem with magic is that good story is made with conflict, and we know our heroes are going to succeed, but we need to put obstacles in their way, right? And it has to be a challenge. So, if you have, say you have a magic ability that you can shoot fire out the end of your finger. If in every situation you can just keep firing more fire out your finger, that's not really a threat. Now, that becomes interesting if you've got a world that's a water sail and you combat it that way. But what we want to do is make sure that there is challenges there. So we need to magic always needs to be somehow limited. The good thing is there should always be the way they say is there should be a cost to magic. Now, cleverer writers than myself find interesting ways to do this. So he could fire fire out of the end of his finger, but he ages as he does it. That's the cost. Or that he loses some of his memories, or all manners of things, right? So you think of when you play a video game, right? If you have magic, if you've got a special ability, you can't just spam that special ability, because then it's no longer a special ability. So you have to, wait till you've got enough mana, or have certain supplies in order to do that magic, to do that special ability. So if we just have it that like you can eat anything, I'm trying to look what I've got around here. I've got absolutely nothing. Right, okay, I have got a USB plug, right? If I'm in a dangerous situation and I need to fire out my fingers, eating this plug, if that's going to cause it, well, where's the interest in that? It's kind of boring. Oh, I need to eat something. Well, eat a piece of paper. Oh, now I've got the magic fire and I can do whatever. If it's like, I'm going to eat this plug and I don't know what it's going to do, that becomes a bit more of an interesting story. So, when you write magic, always think about its limits. Think about its cost. And where you can get really creative is what that cost is. Okay? Easy option, and I do go for it from time to time, is I get a bit tired. I get worn out, My magic ability is I can run. If I can only run for 20 minutes and then I'm knackered for the rest of the day. Excuse me for having a drink, but I need to wet the whistle. So I think this is going to be important. We did yesterday, and past me thanks today, me. And this is another thing if you're writing to think about. If you're on a bit of a flow and you're setting things up, I planned out today's writing for me. So today, because the weather's crap and I'm feeling a bit run down and oh god, I've got to write. We've all been there. I love writing and I hate writing. We all do that. So I've literally laid it out for future me. So I said, right, do Gina as your point of view. We want the splat scene, which is what's happened to the soldiers who ate the fruit. We need to open the new portal, which means one of our group has to touch the orb. So Gina in the background is not going to be feeling well. So she is going to mutate. Something comes out of the portal. So my idea being is either this may split into two scenes. And the reason why I say that is because when we're writing stuff here on live stream, I don't get a chance to do a lot of words, okay? So I'm limited by the length of the stream to the chapter, so I tend to make them a little bit small. So we may just get that Gina mutates at the end and leave it at that and do the action tomorrow. But we'll see. We've got a little bit of horror to start off with. So I'm gonna start diving in. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free to jump in. Oh, need to change that to size 18 so you can see it a little bit better. So another little tip here is like she thought she might be sick at any moment. You might say, oh, well, you could actually say she felt nauseous would be a good kind of edit on that. And that's a valid question, but would she ever say nauseous? We're in her point of view. So we've established Gina wasn't feeling very well. She felt like her belly was rolling down a hill, her head spun, and she thought she might be sick at any moment. Feel a lump on her shoulder. This is the mutation starting to happen. I do not know at this moment in time what that mutation is. It can either spread out from her shoulder or, you know, could just like pop. And we're going to have it a little bit gross today. Have thinks the lump on her shoulder is caused being not to put the state, but she's not. So I'm just trying to get into this character. We've not written Gina before. So I don't want her to come across as a Karen, but I want her to be somebody who is bubbly. But in being bubbly, she has lots of ups and downs. She has kind of a lot of emotional range. Right, so there's another example where, like in Scrivener, so Laird Quentin, what did we call it? Was it a meeting hall? So this is what audience room. It's audience room, okay. Okay. I'm stopping at the moment, and my internal thoughts at this moment is to think about making her a likable character. She isn't that likable at the moment. She's a little bit annoying. So I'm just re-establishing this connection that, like, you know. This might be a clumsy sentence. She looked over to where Drummond was being hurried forward and decided to hold off giving Jack's details. Not of her complaints, just take that out. Give Jack's details until. She looked over to where Drummond was being herded forward and decided to hold off giving Jack's details until he was out of earshot. I'm saying the old soldier. I didn't want to say Drummond again, so I just want to clarify that it's that Drummond is out of earshot, not Jack's. So now we're going into a little bit of the horror of it, like the splat scene. There was something over the walls, red and green. I'm just going to say the high ceiling. You know, I wonder, like Wretched, like I started writing it like this, and I think I'm pretty sure it's that. Just made me think that like maybe some of us are oral writers. We write by hearing the words in our head, whereas some people are physical writers, and it's how it looks on a page. Interesting. His dinner pulled at his feet. I like that. So Marley's gonna step forward and she's gonna speak to like her father. She's not noticed this, so there's maybe some more that needs to go in here. I was going to say she turned her head away, but then she can't see anything that's going on there, and we might want to go back there. Seemed to notice as she strode forward upon entering the room. Oh, okay. I'm trying to. There's a lot of things in play here. This is the one of the troubles with having a lot of characters is just trying to make sure they're in play. For the most part, I think I'm gonna keep like Red, Drummond, Jax in the background here. Marley's gonna be kind of speaking, but we're gonna be very focused on Gina. This is clumsy because he could have asked her in the sales. Why does he need to bring it here? What I'm doing is I'm playing a little bit. I'm kind of letting the characters in my head have this conversation, and I kind of letting them just speak, but I'm kind of almost putting a little bit of pressure to push them towards where I want to go. So instead of going, right, I need them to ask these questions. So what I might sometimes do is I might say something along the lines of, so, you know, so that mess. Okay, so that might be where I'm trying to go. So I'm going to let them talk, but in my head, I'm thinking this is where I kind of want to go towards. Ours is a bit pathetic. So you got the little semantics of whether the tear is. So I may go back and delete some of this, but I'm just playing. What do you know about that fruit? He asked. Everything on this estate is. So I need them to be getting to. So this I may move to later. So I'm getting a little bit messy here, and the way I tend to do is I just kind of have these spaces here. And sometimes I'll find that I never use this sentence whatsoever, and I've carried on the story past it, and it's deleted. But what I'm doing is I'm writing the dialogue, and sometimes when I'm really in the flow, I'll literally just be. It'll be more like a script. So you see how I'm trying to join it up. And the orb, are you going to claim that it, like this tear? I'm going to say this supposedly, because he hasn't seen it. Maybe I can now do this, don't I? You can see me, I'm juggling sentences. I'll not have you still. Don't want to turn to the mess on the wall just yet. Let's say this is a little bit of like a jigsaw puzzle. We've got this outline. We know we're not opening the portal, but yet we just need to kind of. Notice I'm not doing a lot about Gina, and I may like intersperse this. trying not to say Lord. I'm doing Laird instead. I've got using a lot of adjectives here. Three men, he yelled. Good men. I need to link in the stomach cramps. So there's something in here that's got to be Gina's observation that Freeman. say it. I'm aware there's gaps in this thing, so we're going to be filling those in. So there needs to be a little bit more horror in Gina, but I think that's going to go in a second pass I'm going to do. She wondered if she should mention that she wasn't free. So I've gone back and just added a coach. We need that food to see us through the winter. I don't think it's so much a reminder to the reader as it is a reminder to Quentin. doing a lot of not saids. I'm using lots of adjectives and things like that. I'm not worrying about it this stage. First draft, we can tidy it up afterwards. Marley needs to be convinced. So again, rather than read all the thing, rather than like repeat it all, I'm just gonna kind of give a summary, because the reader doesn't need it. I can use the crystal to remind people for them. So rather than make it plain, she's going to leave out certain details. So we need to put where the orb was. Now notice we're building this like a Lego set. So I'm just adding where the orb is. So we've established that. So I've gone back and done that. Now, I'm not saying that's a good technique. That's just the way I do it. This is how sometimes you can fix it, because you could read it and then go, oh, crap. Picked up the orb. I've never mentioned the orb. How do I go back? Just literally insert it back there. Right, solve that problem. Move on. What happened? So I want to be consistent here. So I'm going back into my story, going back several chapters. When Jack's touch. So, nothing happened. Right, so no pulsing. Right, okay. This is why sometimes it's handy to have these scenes up here labelled. So I'm trying to think in how the context of sort of a kind of medieval society. So, reality starts. Okay, so we need to put in some Gina stuff. So what we're going to do, the way I'm going to do this is literally I am going to read through this first. And then I'm just gonna, like, if you like, think of stages. So there was heat. She could feel maybe that thing pulsing at the back of her. Headache intensifies. So literally, I need to insert Gina into this scene. Gina wasn't feeling very well. She felt like her belly was rolling down a hill. Her head spun and she thought she might be sick at any moment. And to top it all off, she could feel a lump on her shoulder. She must have knocked it being transported to the estate. Burnt like crazy and was hot to the touch. Now, we need to mention this, but not make it the priority to kind of surprise the reader. It should be more about her stomach, less about her. At this moment, all she wanted to do was stay still, not be dragged out the cell into Laird Quentin's audience room. The guards were not gentle and pushed and shoved her along with her friends. I'm just trying to give a bit of character. She was going to be sick. She'd make sure she threw up on them. Are you okay? Asked Jax, being pushed alongside her. You look a little peaky. She faked a smile. Good old Jax. He was always looking out for her. She looked over to where Drummond was being herded forward and decided to hold off giving Jax details until the old soldier was out of earshot. The audience hall was busy for the dead of night. Laird Quentin stood at the far end, talking with MacArthur, the glowing blue orb by his feet, while some of his guard milled around one corner. There was something over the walls, red and green, stretching up to the high ceiling. Gina noticed that some of the soldiers were sitting down, trying to wipe the same mixture from their face and armour. One soldier was being comforted as he retched uncontrollably, his dinner pulled at his feet. Gina's stomach churned even more. At this rate, she might be joining that soldier. Marley didn't seem to notice as she strode forward upon entering the room. "Ah, Marley," Quentin said dryly. "How nice of you to join us." "Demand you let us go," Marley said. "We've done nothing wrong and broken no laws." Quentin raised an eyebrow. "Really? You fact we were found with large quantities of fruit in the bog? That did not come from your estate," she sobbed back. "And the orb? Are you trying to claim that it, like this supposed tear in our world, just appeared?" "You have no right to take that from us," Marley spat. "That was rightfully ours." "Everything on this estate is mine," Quentin said. "You should know that. I'll not have you steal from me again." "Is that so?" "Marley, my lord," Freeman pleaded to both of them. "Please, this is serious." He threw a serious look to his laird. "We need their help in figuring this all out," he said softly. Laird Quentin stared at his daughter and then sighed. "Very well, Freeman," he said, turning and sitting back on his chair. "Ask your questions." Marley crossed her arms. "I'm not answering any questions," she said defiantly. "Not until we're freed." "Freed?" scoffed Quentin. "I'll hang the lot of you." "My laird," Freeman pleaded. "That time has passed." Laird Quentin was taken aback. "That," he said coldly, "is not your decision." He said coldly, because it's part of a sentence. "That," he said coldly, "is not your decision to make, Freeman. I am in charge here." Gina watched as Freeman's face turned scarlet. The head of the guard pointed to the mess on the walls. "I've just had 3 men," he yelled, "good men, explode on me. I need to establish what happened." "It's simple, Freeman. They ate the fruit. You saw how they clutched their stomach before they exploded. The fruit's spoiled. And if you shout at me again..." Freeman didn't seem to care. Gina put her hand on her grumbling belly. "Spoilt fruit does not cause people to explode," Freeman stated. "And besides, they all ate the fruit. They all ate..." I need to say something that they, as in... They all ate fruit. We need to make Gina part of this. Group crew might be a bit too thin. And besides, they all ate the fruit and none of them... He pointed at Marley, Gina and the rest of the group. Besides, they all ate the fruit and none of them exploded. We need that food. We need that food. I don't like this sentence. And I also want to expand on this. Gina put her hand on her belly. Her concern growing. Okay, a little bit of increasing that Gina there. Freeman didn't seem to care. Gina put her hand on her grumbling belly, her concern growing. She was starting to feel hot and was breaking out in a sweat. Spoilt fruit does not cause people to explode, Freeman stated. He pointed to Marley, Gina, and the rest of the group. And besides, they all ate the fruit and none of them exploded. So, I need to do something about this sentence here. We need that fruit to see us through the winter. It's too simple. We need something that says, they all ate the fruit and none of them exploded. If we're to make it through the winter... I still don't like that, and the reason I don't is... So, okay, so here's where my stress is, if you like, at the moment. It's this sentence. If we are to make it through the winter, we need to establish what threat this presents. I'm going to add a little bit in here. This feels more that it's a Freeman chapter than a Gina chapter. I'm not completing that sentence because I need to put something in there. I'm using ill here because I need to connect it into the next sentence. Given how dreadfully ill. How dreadfully ill that fruit made those unfortunate soldiers. Sorry, MacArthur, but I'm with Laird Quentin here. Given how dreadfully ill that fruit made those unfortunate soldiers, I'd say there's no hope of us using it to supplement our food supplies for winter. Okay, so we're in the weeds of this story and we're making changes as we go. People starve and decide even uncooked meat will make you ill. Maybe you prepared it someday. Gina wondered if she should mention that she wasn't feeling well. So she's keeping quiet for a reason. So as you can see, I'm all over the place on this chapter. Probably not. Well, there's no right way to write, so literally I'm building it up. Gina wondered if she should mention that she was still feeling unwell. John would just. She decided against it. But sometimes if you change things around, have a look at your verbs, because sometimes you need to change the you need to change the tense of it. So I'm doing a little bit of deference here because literally we've put the focus on her stomach and it's churning. And she reaches back and scratches her still swelling shoulder. Okay, that's expecting to be challenged. Again, write it wrong, then make it right. We counted this start sheets. Explained how they'd found the crystal, the explosion, how it had exploded. I don't know whether I like the repeat of how she explained how they'd found the crystal, how it had exploded, and how Jackson had created the town. It's all right, because there's some rhythm to that. Gina noticed that she made no mention of Professor Brennan and why they'd been digging the body in the first place. Freeman walked over and picked up the orb. It continued to glow blue, but nothing happened. Show me how you held it. Okay, we need to do something about the fruit. Okay, so we need to that does the fruit. So we've established that the. So let's put the cut off. So we're getting onto the orb. said Freeman, what we found in the bog. We need to do Gina's. So we need to set up the riches. I think I've gone to Gina's point of view too early. I think this is ultimately a Freeman chapter. Because definitely in the next. So we also have to think about, okay, so I'm going to be looking at the other side of the portal. And things I want to establish is I need Quentin to get to feel that he is got the potential for riches. So I need to have something that makes him want to send all these troops. I want him to get greedy. So I also want there to be a threat in there, a small threat, so that he sends the soldiers through. It's got to be manageable, and at the same time, I want Gina to have a mutation of some sort. So. Quite badly. Writing something a lot. Okay, let's fix this sentence. It was dark on the other side, but the light of the torches in the audience room caught something. Don't need to do on the other side again. Caused it to sparkle. Okay. Write it bad, then write it good. It was dark on the other side, but the light of the torches in the audience room caught something, caused it to sparkle. Boom. Works. Sentence works. Yeah, that such sentence when I was writing it just felt like a struggle. Everything feels like a struggle. So what's going to come out of this is not going to be our big bad. Growl. Let's know roar is 2. Okay. Stay back, my lad, Freeman said, taking a lantern in one hand and drawing his sword with the other. So my idea here is that whoever was in this world, like when things happened, they sealed it up. So, but half the size. Again, I need to be building up Gina, but I'm going to put that in. All right. However, everyone's attention was on the walls. They glistened and sparkled. The rocks filled with gems. Okay. Is that gold here? I think pincers are on hand, mandibles are on the head. So I am just doing a quick. So parts of. Where's Adrian Tchaikovsky when you need him? Here we go. This is what I'm looking at. Yep, they are mandibles. Cool. Yes, I found. Literally. So this whole bit here is inspired by Minecraft. You can see how I've changed it. I've made it a cross between a spider and an ant. It's like clacking at him on top of him. So what I've now got to do is, this isn't, sometimes you're writing and you build it up. I'm layering this chapter. So now I've got to go back to Gina. Gina Peanut was done the other side. Right, so we're just literally laying in things. So all we're doing is we're literally pausing, like finding like natural breaks that we can insert other thing, and we're just we can insert other paragraphs, and we're kind of layering up Gina. So instead of saying Gina got a headache, and then her stomach churned, and then this happened, and then that happened, we're just layering it up. Now, we're doing a little bit of a classic kind of. We're trying to keep the attention on this room, on this cave, because we kind of want this to, it's this switch at the end. It's like you're interested in the cave, something happens, oh my god, but then something happens to Gina. So it was about so because we're going to break away looking around the cave, so just giving it some clarity. Gina's lump on her back started to pull. She really wasn't feeling well. Sprayed across the walls. Love a little bit of horror like that. I kind of like the idea it's that Drummond is going to be the one that's concerned, because he's... There's a lot of eyes going my way. So now it's just a kind of, right, when do you think? Easy to drive. Those shoulders. I'm thinking it's those souls. Sure, that's good. We're gonna go through. Sorry if I'm being a bit quiet. I'm trying to. From the cover, she saw Freeman investigating. Uh, 5, wasn't it, of them? Okay, so is that it? We want to leave it on a cliffhanger? See, I told you we would not use this phrase. But that's what you do. That's the way that's my layered approach to writing a chapter. So let's read it back and make some changes. done the splat scene, although it wasn't as gross as I thought, but some people, well, sometimes what I don't think is gross is other people do. So, Gina wasn't feeling very well. She felt like her belly was rolling down a hill. Her head spun and she thought she might be sick at any moment. And to top it all off, she could feel a lump on her shoulder. She must have knocked it being transported to the estate. Burnt like crazy and was hot to the touch. At this moment, all she wanted to do was stay still, not be dragged out the cell and to Laird Quentin's audience room. The guards were not gentle and pushed and shoved her along with her friends. She told them to be careful, but they did not listen. If she was going to be sick, she'd make sure she threw up on them. On their boots. Are you okay? asked Jax, being pushed alongside her. You look a little peaky. She faked a smile. Good old Jax. He was always looking out for her. She looked over to where Drummond was being herded forward and decided to hold off giving Jax details until the old soldier was out of earshot. The audience hall was busy. Room. I think hall is better. Did we put hall earlier? Oh. Audience. It's room. The audience room was busy for the dead of night. Laird Quentin stood by the far end talking with MacArthur, the glowing blue orb at his feet, while some of his guard milled around one corner. There was something over the walls, red and green, stretching up onto the high ceiling. Up onto the high ceiling? Stretching up onto the high ceiling. Gina noticed that some of the soldiers were sitting down trying to wipe the same mixture from their face and armour. One soldier was being comforted as he retched uncontrollably, his dinner pulled at his feet. Gina's stomach churned even more. At this rate, she might be joining that soldier. Marley didn't seem to notice as she strode forward upon entering the room. "Ah, Marley," Quentin said dryly, "how nice of you to join us." "I demand you let us go," Marley said. "We've done nothing wrong and broken no laws." Quentin raised an eyebrow. "Really?" he said. "You were found with large quantities of fruit in the bog. That did not come from your estate," she shot back. "And the orb? Are you going to claim that it, like this supposed tear in our world, just appeared?" "You had no right to take that from us," Marley spat. "That was rightfully ours." "Everything on this estate is mine," Quentin said. "You should know that. I'll not have you steal from me again." "Is that so? Marley." Just kind of break up a little bit. "Marley, my lord," Freeman pleaded to the both of them. "Please, this is serious." He threw a serious look at me. Serious. Stern look. "We need their help in figuring this all out," he said softly. Laird Quentin stared at his daughter and then sighed. "Very well, Freeman," he said, turning and sitting back on his chair. "Ask your questions." Marley crossed her arms. "We're not answering any questions," she said defiantly. "Not until we're freed." "Freed?" scoffed Quentin. "I'll hang the lot of you." I maybe want some comment about daughter. don't know if reputation. Reputation? This is So I'm doing a little bit of putting this little bit in just to give us a little bit of character development in Quentin. Preach of Quentin, I'll hang a lot of you. How fatherly of you. I'd never be a father to the likes of you, he spat back. Should have had you dashed against rocks when you were born instead of letting you sully this estate's good name. So literally, like he's literally saying, "Oh yeah, I'm quite happy to commit infanticide." My lad, Freeman pleaded, that time has passed. Now this breaks this though. So we're not doing. So I've tried to bring it back to the thing. The gallows is all you and your reprobate friends are good for. My lad, that time has passed. Lord Quentin was taken aback. That, he said, is not your decision to make, Freeman. I'm in charge here. Gina watched as Freeman's face turned scarlet. The head of the guard pointed to the mess on the walls. I've just had 3 men, he yelled, good men, explode on me. I need to establish what happened. It's simple, Freeman. They ate the fruit. You saw how they clutched their stomach before it exploded. The fruit's spoiled, and if you shout at me again... Freeman didn't seem to care. Gina put her hand on her grumbling belly, her concern growing. She was starting to feel hot and was breaking out in a sweat. Spoilt fruit does not cause people to explode, Freeman stated. He pointed at Marley, Gina and the rest of the group. And besides, they all ate the fruit and none of them exploded. If we're to make it through the winter, we need to establish what threat this fruit presents. I'm sorry, MacArthur said, but I'm with Laird Quentin here. Given how dreadfully ill that fruit made those unfortunate soldiers, I say there's no hope of us using it to supplement our food supplies for the winter. Then people will starve. And besides, even uncooked meat will make you ill. Maybe you prepared it somehow, Marley. Quentin sighed and sat back in his chair with a look of defeat on his face. Did he stand up? Sat on his chair there, okay. Pulling himself up, so he's literally put his hands on and pulling himself up. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, MacArthur said, but I'm with Laird Quentin here. Given how dreadfully ill that fruit made all those unfortunate soldiers, I'd say there's no hope of us using it to supplement our food supplies this winter. Then people will starve. And besides, even uncooked meat will make you ill. I don't like that sentence. I like what it means, but I don't like what it said, how it's written. And then people will starve. Uncooked meat will make you ill. Perhaps you prepared it somehow. Went inside and sat back in his... I'm just going to say back down. Because we go up and then we're going down. Back down with a look of defeat on his face. Gina wondered if she should mention it. She still wasn't feeling well. She decided against it. Jax might be sympathetic, but Drummond would just make fun of her. She, like the others, looked at the mess on the wall and started to worry. Please don't let it be the same, she thought to herself as she reached back and scratched her still swelling shoulder. Please. Please. There's two pleases. I don't like the two please. Sit there. Don't let it be the same, she thought to herself. So we can take that out, that please. Don't let it be the same, she thought to herself as she reached back and scratched her still swelling shoulder. Please, pleaded Freeman pleaded to Marley. What do you know about that fruit and this orb? Marley looked at him suspiciously, then to Quentin and then back to Freeman. Tell me and we'll let you go, he said. You have my word. He looked towards Quentin, perhaps expecting to be challenged, but the laird stayed silent. We just plucked it off the bushes, Marley said. We didn't do anything other than eat it. How interesting, said MacArthur. Perhaps the orb somehow played a part. Marley recounted their story. She explained how they'd found the crystal, how it had exploded, and how Jax had created the tear with picking up the orb. Gina noticed that she'd made no mention of Professor Brennan and why they'd been digging in the bog in the first place. See, that's something to take into account. Is when somebody recounts a story, what do they leave out? And what does that tell you? Freeman walked up and picked up the orb. It continued to glow blue, but nothing happened. Show me how you held it, Jackson, Freeman asked. I don't think it'll do it again, Jax said, taking the orb from him. As he said it, the air rippled and cracked. Everyone stopped what they were doing and took several steps back. As reality seemed to split open once again. Led Quentin sat up in his chair. What's happening? He asked MacArthur by his side. What is that? That, said Freeman. Was what we found in the bog. Gina peered into the tear. Her head starting to throb. It was dark on the other side, but the light of the torches in the audience room caught something and caused it to sparkle. Quentin noticed it too. What was that? He said. From deep within the tear came a sound. There was a growl the like of which Gina had never heard, followed by the scuttling of feet. It made her stomach churn even more. She said, churn. It keeps churning. We know it's churning. Stop going on about the churning, Gina. Began to feel a stabbing pain in her stomach. There's something in there, Quentin said. Stay back, my lad, Freeman said, taking a lantern in one hand and drawing his sword with the other. He stepped through the tear, his lantern lighting the cave. Call it a cave before. He stepped through the tear, his lantern lighting the cave he stepped into. It's 2 steps, that's the problem. Entered. At about half the size of the audience room, and at the far end it appeared This is another thing I do. It appeared that the ceiling had collapsed. No. The far end, the ceiling had collapsed. It's a stronger sentence. Normally, like, things like that, I won't do until I'm doing, like, final revisions. I will kind of... I'm good at saying, like, perhaps thing to try and give the uncertainty of the point of view, but it can just come across as weaker writing. So, kind of trying... I'm getting better at seeing it in first drafts, but normally that's not something I won't... I probably won't even spot it in a second draft. It's something I will specifically look for in, like, a third or final draft. Literally before I send it to my agent. Gina's lump on her back started to pulse. She really... we know she really wasn't feeling well. Was she going to end up like those soldiers sprayed across the walls? Drummond looked across to her. You could see the beads of sweat running down her face. His eyes went wide as he came to the same conclusion as Gina as to what was happening. I don't feel well, she said, but her voice... I really don't feel well. Really don't feel well, she said, but her voice was too quiet for anyone to hear. No way out, said Freeman, looking around the cave for the source of the noise. However, everyone's attention was on the walls. They glistened and sparkled. The rock filled with gems and veins of yellow. Ed Quentin's eyes went wide. Is that gold? He asked. Gina's feet gave way under her and she would have fallen to the floor had Drummond not been there to catch her. Easy, he said. Tears filled Gina's eyes. She was going to explode like the soldiers. Those soldiers. She knew it. She wanted to tell Gina and everyone to get away before she did, but the pain in her back intensified, causing her to lock her back in spasm. Arch her back. Arch her back? Back in spasm. From the corner of her eye, she saw Freeman investigating the walls. Drummond went to call for help. We know it's for Gina. But as he did so, there came a yell from the cave. Freeman screamed as a creature the size of a small dog and looking like a cross between a spider and an ant dropped from the ceiling and flattened him to the ground. Snapping at him with its mandibles. At the same time, Gina felt the skin down her back tear open. She screamed in unison. Gina, Jack shouted as the soldiers who'd escorted the five of them tried to push them back. She's about to explode, they exclaimed. Don't know whether I like they. At the same time, Gina felt the skin down her. Freeman screamed. Okay, let's go back to this. From the corner of her eye, she saw Freeman investigating the walls. Drummond went to call out for help, but as he did so, there came a yell from the cave. Freeman screamed as a creature the size of a small dog and looking like a cross between a spider and an ant dropped from the ceiling and flattened him to the ground, snapping at him with its mandibles. At the same time, Gina felt the skin down her back tear open. She screamed in unison. Gina, Jack shouted as the soldiers who escorted the five of them tried to push them back. She's about to explode, they shouted. Okay. So, that is our chapter 6. So I'm just gonna so tomorrow is another Gina chapter. I think that last chapter should probably have been Drummond. So we are gonna do just point of view Gina. So we have to do the mutation. And then we also we need to do mutation and battling the ants. So important things to remember is that soldiers can defeat them. Because I think that's all we're going to do. Is going to be an action chapter tomorrow. I think that is enough. So I'm going to put in an extra chapter here. Because after we do... I'm keeping this fairly small. The reason being is that literally in the time that we've got to write everything we need to write, we had quite a bit to do there, and it's taken us 1,500 words. So let's keep it small. We can have some action tomorrow. And then we've got to have a chapter after that goes, what's happened? Why has it happened? MacArthur is gonna... And that doesn't mean that he is gonna be the protagonist in this, or the point of view character, sorry, in this. But I'm just putting this note to myself. So basically, MacArthur goes, there was that crystal. That must have given you this mutating ability. I don't even know what the mutation's going to be. But it's important that we kind of sum it up and just kind of so that the reader will know. So I'm just making those notes for future me. It has helped. It's definitely sped things up a bit today. Because we've got more words done than normal, and we've done it in kind of, an hour and a half rather than 2 hours. No, 2 hours rather than 2.5 hours. So... with that, what we are going to do is this will be going up on the website probably tomorrow morning. If you go to the website, www.adrianfaulkner.com, you will be able to, if you click on any of the first draft posts, there'll be a link to the start, and then I've added in each chapter now to take you to the next chapter. So you can literally read it sequentially. So this will be added tomorrow. Chapter 6 and Chapter 7. Be sure to join in tomorrow, because tomorrow we are going to be writing action scenes tomorrow. So I think that is going to be quite exciting. So if you've got any questions about writing action scenes, ask me. It's one of the things I'm really good at, unlike everything else, which I'm rubbish at, but I can write action scenes. So with that, I am going to say good afternoon and good evening. We're going to finish the stream there. Got chapter 6 done. It's starting to feel a little bit easier now. We've got a bit of idea of the characters. I'm not happy with some things, but I will write that in my analysis. I'm not sure we really got a lot of time to really dive into Gina's character there. But we might have been able to do better leaving it for this next chapter and making this one maybe somebody else.